Provocative.
We're live.
Okay, so
people going.
Representative Casey, if you wanna.
All right, yeah.
So we are back in Senate institutions and we have Representative Connor Casey here to let us know how H50 was discussed and imagined and ended up getting voted out by the House, which is an act relating to identifying underutilized state buildings and land. So Representative?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Senators, for having me. Good to come down from the cheap seats there to present it. I'm very excited about this bill, H50, which we passed out unanimously from committee and on a voice vote on the floor there. The scope of this bill and the genesis of it was initially a bit more ambitious than it ended up, but through partnership with BGS, sort of working out the details, I think we really came up to a good compromise here. The premise behind it initially was if indeed, like, we are in a housing crisis, which I believe us to be in, and I listened to the governor's inaugural speech where he said, we got to be adding like 8,000 units a year here in Vermont to be able to keep up. I look around my own city of Montpelier here, and I find that to be true. It's, we are really in desperate shape with housing, and in the wake of the flood, in the wake of COVID down here, we look at all this space and all this state-owned space, and we're just not even able to do anything for a couple of years. And I worry about my own community, but it's not unique. I think all of our communities are really suffering this shortage here. So I read in 7 days, and an article stuck out to me, and it was the city of Barrie, I think led by Mayor Lozon there, which chose to sell 2 of the parking lots of Barrie to a developer for $1 each there, recognizing the fact that the housing was so much more valuable to the city than those parking lots. And I thought about it. I thought about, like, last year, just working through the capital bill when we decided to sell buildings, and we suffer over it, right? Like, we want to make sure we get fair market value. Like, how do we get as much as we can out of these buildings? And it just kind of clicked to me that if we get $1 million, if we get like $500,000, it's not worth expanding our tax base and having that revenue come in and revitalizing our communities if we could give that state land away to somebody who has a creative idea of what to do with it, build up our housing stock. And when we look at the hundreds of buildings we have in state government, the thousands of acres, I think it makes sense to do an analysis regularly of which spaces are vacant, which are underused, knowing that, like, it's not as easy as like flipping a switch with state buildings to convert into housing. Probably most of the time you'd look at raising them. But I look at, like, we're doing we're in the midst of trying to locate the replacement for the women's prison. So I think, well, it was like 100 sites were looked at, maybe more. I don't know, Cole, if I'm giving wrong numbers here. And I wondered, okay, what happened to the 99 sites that we didn't decide? Could there still be a good use for those ones too? I looked at it like Windsor at the property that we always look at with the former prison site there. There's some creative solutions being thrown on the table. So the initial bill, again, much more ambitious in scope, was to actually start pulling the trigger on converting some of these spaces to housing. And I drafted up a million different versions of the bill. They would have a process going through ACCD and everything. And, Commissioner Manoli is very good at bringing me back to reality sometimes. And, right now there's, BGS is underwater almost literally with the flood cleanup and everything. And kind of creating a structure like that seemed like it would be a bit much initially. So we took a step back and said, look, we got a bunch of state land, a bunch of state buildings. Some is under AOT's control. Some is under ANR's control. Most of it's under BGS there. But we don't really, at some point, we stopped centralizing it in one place there where we could just look at it and see what's going on. So AOT came in. They were really good talking about some of the mapping they're doing where they can identify, the space in every community. They seem ready to go on that. BGS came in. They showed us the space book, which I didn't even know existed despite being on institutions for 2 years prior to this. And I was fascinated looking at the space book of all the properties here. Anyways, what we came up with was we need all the information we can to make an intelligent decision about maybe divesting of state land in the future and converting it there. So as a first step, wouldn't it be great just to have all the properties in one place there, delivered to the institutions committees every year there, where we can take a look at it. And Commissioner Manoli said, we'll be able to identify which are vacant, which are underused, and we'll have a report come to you every year. And to me, that's almost like getting some meat and throwing it in the arena of the legislature, where we say, okay, we've got this underused state space. Who's got a good idea, right? And that's where maybe we can start having individual legislators bring ideas to the table about, I got a developer, out my way, who's got a great idea to get 200 units on that spot, I just want the ideas to start flowing and us to work together in sort of a buy, try, whatever partisan fashion there. And it just seemed like this was an idea we could all wrap our heads around there. So it's getting information in front of us. It's an inventory, which doesn't sound like too much, but I think it's a first step to start thinking creatively. Do we need all this land, And if not, what's the best purpose for it? And I think it's usually going to be housing. So that's just kind of how my brain was working when I drafted this up initially. It's changed quite a bit, but I'm very happy with the direction it's going. And I think it could result in some creative, good ideas in the future.
Terrific. Thank you.
All right.
I think it's great that you did it. Hold on, we might have questions. Do you have questions?
He's answered every question that I had,
Well-
so.
Yeah, I was
Okay, go
going
ahead.
to ask you, so did you go through this Facebook in detail? And I have not, I haven't pulled up.
Yeah.
It does cover lands, however, and that isn't sufficient for what we want, I assume.
We need another category to see what's going on with that land right now. And I think that's where, hopefully without like breaking the BGS workforce, we can get all that material together. I really want to commend Commissioner Manoli, because initially when she saw this bill, it was like, what are you doing to us? But she came to the table here, and I really appreciate the work BGS did on this.
Yes, and we've talked to her just once about it, but I have some more questions about it. So this is a printed version of the spacebook, but not the whole thing. But there are different formats and ways of explaining the land. Does the bill specify which of the formats would be the ones that they would provide?
I don't think we get that granular, except that in the bill itself, it says annually a list will be presented there with the underutilized or vacant space in state
Okay.
government, which, the space books got so much of this information. I'll be honest, a lot of it's hieroglyphics if I look at it, so just having something that's easy to present there. And I think we were speaking the same language when we were talking.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful, and I'm really glad that you did that, because towns are doing that. The town of Brattleboro is on a path where the municipal center will be turned into housing. It's not all complete yet, but that building was originally a high school, and now it's a municipal center, and it could be housing. And housing typically on a per cubic foot, not cubic, square foot basis is the highest value. And so when we're talking about returns on investment, housing is a really good investment.
And so I look at Williston, you'll be talking about in the Capitol bill again, but if somebody came in with a good proposal in Williston, walking distance supermarkets, everything, you don't need a car. So I just think we need to think a bit more creatively. And of course I do have some selfish interest, because 2 years from now, when the dust is settled on everything FEMA, and we've got some vacant state land, I'd love to look at ways we could revitalize Montpelier with this.
No, I think this is great. And Montpelier especially, and you were saying it's like other towns, but in some ways it's not, because it does have many more state buildings.
We don't control much of our fate in
Yeah.
Montpelier. We don't have much city land. It's mostly state land, aside from Hubbard Park behind you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But thank you very much. This is
All right.
perfect.
Thanks.
Anything from,
No, it looks like most of the bill was struck out, and looks like you're just revamping what you already have right there as far as the net report and just simplifying it. So, yeah, I'm not much into giving away hard-earned assets of the state, so we probably have a big fight with that, but whatever, I get it, difference of opinion, so.
yeah, or a conversation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, yeah, it is what it is. Everything's free, everything's free, don't do it anymore. Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Well,
it depends on long term.
I'll let you-
You know,
What do you
ask,
give me the date?
ask the transit company and, that they're struggling right now. They gave away for free for so long and now they're, closing up because it was just free for too long. So you can't give away
I
things
would
for
love
free.
to talk about transit.
Yeah. So anyways, it
But
is what
we'll
it
do
is.
that in another room.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, well, thanks again, everybody. Really appreciate it. Yeah, cheers.
Alrighty. So now we were going to have. Good thing I have a watch.
You picked that.
I was going to, but someone told me to stop.
So it's
I'm
almost.
glad you didn't
three.
give Connor any of that coffee for that. That was good. He's the ball in.
Yes, yes. So
Good man.
do we have anything to talk about or should we adjourn temporarily?
I'm good until you. What comes out with that?
We're waiting for John Gray so that he can give us the legislative council
Yeah.
rundown. So why don't we
Yeah.
adjourn and then
And I'll try to fix it.
if people can stay nearby so that we